Hey everyone, Leo Bond here. I'm back again today for the Best Buy Canada blog with a look at a couple of different ProZip hoverboards. The Spitfire, which is your kind of standard or basic board, and then there's also the Hummer, which is considered an all-terrain board for either on or off-road use. And these two boards actually have a number of features in common, so I'll mention those first, and then we can move on to some of the differences. So each of the hoverboards has a built-in GPS. They also have a dedicated app that includes both a speedometer and an odometer, so you can keep track of either your speed or your mileage or whatever, how far you've traveled, that sort of thing. They also both use Bluetooth to connect to your smartphone, and my favorite feature of all is the auto leveling, which really makes it a whole lot easier to balance on these things really than what I would have expected. And basically how that works is that when you turn on the board and step on it, it almost kind of stiffens up and becomes more stable, just like a skateboard or something like that, so you're much less likely to fall off of it. And honestly, when I first received these things to test, I fully expected to break at least a half a dozen bones, but I actually never even fell off of these things once. And for me, that is really saying something, because I can hardly stand up on level ground wearing tennis shoes without tipping over. So pretty impressive, this auto leveling. Anyway, both of these boards also have the same maximum weight capacity, which is 100 kilograms or 220 pounds, and they take roughly in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 hours to fully charge up via their included charging adapters, which are just standard wall plug-in adapters. But the discharge time, or the time that it takes for the battery to run down, is going to vary somewhat depending on a whole lot of different factors. For example, my weight is very close to the maximum capacity of the boards, and what that means is that the boards have to work a whole lot harder to drag my carcass around than they would, say, a person that only weighs 120 or even 150 pounds. The boards just wouldn't have to work as hard, for lighter people like that. And of course, that means the batteries are going to last a whole lot longer. And the other big thing that impacts on the battery life has to do, and this is more specifically for the Hummer, but it has to do with the kind of terrain that you're driving around on. And certain surfaces just require a little bit more effort from the board. So for me, what happened was when I took the Hummer on loose gravel, as long as I stayed on the really hard stuff, there was a lot of rocks in it or whatever, the Hummer did quite well. But there were a couple of times that I got into some really fine stuff. It was practically like beach sand, and I mean really dry beach sand. And that, the Hummer did have to work quite a bit harder to get through that. And I actually even got stuck a couple of times. But for more solid surfaces, the Hummer did quite well, and except it sort of slowed down a bit when I tried to go uphill, but that is understandable. Now, the top speed for the Hummer is 15 kilometers an hour, and for the Spitfire, it's 10 kilometers an hour, and both of these boards have a minimum recommended age range of 7 years old, so they're definitely okay for kids. And as you can see in the video here, I really had a lot of fun zipping around on these things, especially the Hummer, though. It wasn't really all that difficult, and I still have everything intact. I'm not injured or anything. And overall, I had a lot of fun with these boards. But one thing that I will say about them, and this is just my own personal opinion, but I don't really think that these boards should be considered as serious means of transportation. They're more in the realm of fun. There's something to ride on around, just for the pure enjoyment of it. And you could possibly use them as a way to get around if you really had to, but there might be a whole lot of places that won't even allow you to ride on them. For example, I doubt that a shopping mall or a school or something like that is going to allow you to ride around on one of these things, and they are seriously heavy, so you definitely don't want to have to pick them up and walk around with them either. So that's as much as I'm going to say here in the video, but I would encourage you to visit the Best Buy Canada blog for my complete written review. I always try to have some differences between the video and the written article, so it's just something a little bit different. So look there for more in-depth analysis if you want to, and I hope to see you back again for my next review. But until then, I'd just like to thank you all for watching. Have an excellent day, and I'll see you soon.